Thank you guys for coming out. I'm really excited to do this. I've never done this before. It was my producer's idea to be like, well, we have a podcast, let's do a live show. So I was like, that was a great idea. And then I immediately get nervous and it's like, well, is anyone gonna show up? Ashley is here with me. I think Demi's gonna show up and say hi for all the Demi fans out there. And I think she's bringing Tracy, she said. So we'll have a fun conversation, and I think Ashley and I have a good topic. I feel like this is where people and the host of the show will say, we have a great show planned for you. I don't feel totally comfortable saying this. This is my first time doing a live show, so I think it's gonna be pretty good. So lowering expectations. So anyways, Ashley, why don't you come out and join me? Hi, Ashley.
Hi, Nick.
How are you? Cheers.
Good, how are you? I am cheers.
Are you nervous?
A little bit. I didn't think I would be, but...
I haven't seen you in a while.
I know, it has been like a month.
How are you? How is the wedding planning going?
It's going really well. It's very easy. It's just, it's fun because we have the best wedding planner ever, Troy Williams, to anybody who's getting married. Yeah. So, we plug Troy all the time because he deserves it. He just gives us a list of all the best vendors out there and then like shows us examples and then we pick from it. There's no searching involved with him, which is so nice.
Great.
I know, yeah. Sorry, okay, that's it.
So I am glad it's going well.
Thank you.
You and Jared are still in love, so that's really great. I thought it would be interesting. Ashley and I had this idea a while back to talk about social media and the internet. Obviously, we have an interesting relationship with it, but I think everyone does, and I thought it would just be kind of an interesting conversation. We talk a lot about people, about dating on the podcast, and I get a lot of questions about how it relates to social media. Oh, I'm dating this guy. How soon should I follow him? What if he likes my picture? If I break up with my boyfriend, do I unfollow?
And the funny thing is, Nick asked the same questions to his friends.
Oh, I totally was like, should I? What should I say? And so I thought it'd be an interesting conversation to just kind of talk about the effects of social media and the internet and how we react to it. I thought it would also be fun for us to maybe read some of our Reddit comments out there. Who has ever been on Reddit? Raise your hand. This is this honest trust tree here. Raise your hand loud and proud. Who has ever commented on Reddit? Okay, it's one honest person here. Who is not familiar with Reddit? My dad raises his hand. How would you describe Reddit, Ashley?
Reddit is just like a message board. I used to be on message boards all the time back in the height of American Idol.
Oh, okay.
Or in the height of the Jonas Brothers. So
you were on it.
I hung out on those message boards all day long.
And commented.
All the time. And now I read comments on Reddit and I'm like, I used to be one of those people.
And who are these people?
These people can be hard on us.
They're opinionated. But it's kind of interesting. And the reason I had this conversation is, the effects of social media I think are just kind of fascinating in how it relates to just our society. Obviously, people ask us questions about, what is it like to read comments about yourself, positive or negative, or have a following? And the truth is, all it really is now we have too much access to information and people's opinions. But I would argue that while it's heightened for Ashley and I, very confusing. It's really no different for everyone in this room. And is there anyone here who doesn't have any type of social media account? So, okay, no one. Great.
You know what is interesting, though? If you are not on reality TV or whatever, people probably don't write mean comments under your pictures because you probably only have friends following you.
Kind of true, yeah. But well, it's mostly true, right? But in terms of making it somewhat, relatable is, with social media, every day we have our family and our close group of friends that we talk to, or our best friend that if we have a breakup or something's going on that we're excited to tell good news to or tell bad news to. And those are the people that we would interact with in our daily lives before social media existed and what we do on a regular basis. And now, even for the people who are on Instagram or Facebook and have 300 followers or 200 followers or 60 friends on Facebook, that's very different than it was before. And now we have access to all this information and people's opinions, even kind of subtly, and it's interesting how it changes our behavior. I read an article about how Facebook extends friendships, and like back in the day, like high school reunions are almost like kind of useless at this point, right? Like
it was for me. I went to my high school reunion a year and a half ago, and it's just I didn't need to go at all.
They didn't even have mine. They just kind of can't.
Really?
Right, but that wasn't.
Was that your 20th?
Wasn't it back in the day? Not yet. Not yet.
This coming summer.
I think it's this summer.
Yeah.
You're awesome.
Sorry.
No, it's totally fine. But that was kind of the excitement of reunions, right? You'd be like, oh, like Eric Green. Wow. I mean, you used to play football and you're the quarterback, and that's your husband. Congratulations. Congratulations to both of you. Like, and it'd just be like, wow, I never would have guessed. And now it's like, yeah, it's Eric Green. I haven't talked to him since high school, but like I know his kids' names and his kids playing soccer.
Okay, so that's what was interesting, because I read that Facebook article that you sent me. One, I barely ever go on Facebook. Do you guys still cruise Facebook? Yeah.
But our Instagram's the same way.
But then I noticed, like I look through every single picture, and then when I open it again, I have to go until the last picture I saw. But with Facebook, I normally just see. It's more like people who have been married and have kids, and they've been settled for a while. And I noticed that Instagram is more of like for the single, more millennial generation, right?
So?
I feel like a lot of, am I saying things that are totally, politically incorrect? By saying that the millennials have kind of abandoned Facebook a bit, and I only use it to look at old people. Not old people. To look at people who I went to school with, old friends of mine, not old people, because I made those Facebook friendships back when Facebook started. And I haven't friended one of my friends from the past 5 years on Facebook at all. Have you friended somebody on Facebook in the past 5 years?
No, but
yeah.
But people are still, but more like whether you have Facebook or Instagram, I guess my point is, everyone, whether you have a following or not, you have access to all these people's opinions that you never had before.
Yeah.
And now we're doing things that we've never done before. Again, when it comes to dating, I mean, when you were not with Jared and you were still in love with Jared, how often did you look at his Instagram and get access into what he was doing or the idea of what he was doing when you were wishing you were with him?
Well, when he was out, I hated to see when he was like at a bar with his friends, because I was, of course, wondering if he was gonna meet a girl that night. But for the most part,
so every night you knew it would.
But Jared never really went out that much, so maybe it was like one night a week. Yeah.
So when he does, it was.
So when he did, it was really scary. But then I would assume, knowing Jared.
High alert! Everyone was getting phone calls.
Yeah, but
he's out. He's out. He's out on the town.
Yeah, but you know Jared, and he would never hook up with a girl anyway. Like, how many times did Jared really bring a girl home? You know, he did more than I thought he did, but it's still like it's not like you, Nick.
My parents are here, Ashley.
You know, like but you enjoy like picking up girls. When I say picking up, I don't mean bring home. I don't mean bring home. I mean like you.
What do you mean? Just. We're shitting on Facebook, now my dating life.
You're like, you'll go up to a girl and you'll like flirt with her, and you'll see if you can get her interested. Jared is a lot less upfront with that stuff.
I wish honestly I was better at approaching women in public. I was thinking about this today when I was getting one of those chair massages at Whole Foods. Did any of you guys do that? I feel like I'm being judged right now.
Oh no, I like mall massages.
Right, it's the same premise. Yeah. But there's this Whole Foods and this lady was there and I was like,
oh yeah.
Fuck it. 25 minutes, please. And now I go like 4 times a week.
Those
on a first name basis.
Though.
It's fine.
It's like $2 a minute.
She does a great job.
Okay, but wait, do you think that you've found it harder to go up to girls in real life because you use Instagram and dating apps as a crutch?
Totally. I think in general, dating apps have made everyone worse at communicating in person. I think nowadays when people go out to the bars and they see it was already hard to do in the first place of having the guts to go up to someone and be like, hey, I'm Nick, and I say hi or get you a drink. And now it's like, does anyone know her name? Like, great, I'll just go home and then I'll like kind of like look at her and wave. And then as soon as I leave, I'll DM her and be like, hey, I'm the person who was staring at you for 10 minutes. And I think that happens more often than not nowadays. I think I know
of one time that you did that.
I'm sure I've done that.
Yeah.
Am I the only one in this room who has gotten a DM or a message from someone at a bar that didn't say hi or they reached out to someone? Just me? Yeah.
It is a thing? But then how do you find, like, in this case, it may have been like a celebrity encounter. How would you find somebody if it was just a regular person?
What do you mean?
Like, how would you see somebody at a bar and then go find his Instagram a couple
You have a
hours
friend,
later?
you know someone, or you get it, right?
Yeah.
If you, she knows. Yeah. She goes on Reddit and she's just like, and so, yeah, I mean, I think that makes people worse at communicating in person.
Yeah.
But I don't think for me it's really, yeah, I guess I probably have gotten worse at it, but I was never great at it. I'd always get nervous if I see someone at a grocery store. It's once in a while I've done it, but you just get you get nervous.
I feel like you would be so good at picking up somebody in person though, because you have like that aura about you.
I've been okay,
natural,
but I still get nervous.
Like, gravitation towards you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
No, but I think in general you get nervous. There's always the fear of rejection. I mean, you just never know. Like you give a shit, right? So as soon as you start caring or you give a shit about the fear of rejection, you're not your most normal self. You're always, so like the trick to hitting on anyone is just pretend you don't like them. Like if you could talk to the person you're interested the same way you talk to the guy who likes you who you don't like, you'd be golden. You'd just...
Well, I know that you had friend zone on the agenda for today. And I used to, I may be famous for being stuck in the friend zone with Jared for 3 years, but I was always the girl that was friend zoning guys because I would be friends with them and then I'd be comfortable enough for them to see my real personality and then they get into me. But then I was like, no.
I don't know if they actually would get in.
No, they wouldn't get in like that, but they would become interested.
Okay.
Because it's all about acting as if you don't like the person. That's the best way to get somebody to like you.
Would you do this on purpose or because you just didn't?
Oh no, because I literally
This was a game or you just...
No, it wasn't a game at all. It was just like I was myself. So then they ended up liking that. But
then when you would like guys.
But when I liked a guy, oh my gosh.
We've all seen that episode.
Yeah, we've all seen the, I mean, clam up central.
Yeah.
I could not be myself at all. I couldn't find a single thing to say.
We all do that, right, though? But like, I think now we have social media to, like, even we don't even try now. We're just like, screw it. What do I DM them or what do I ask them? Do I say hi? But I also think sometimes too, and then when we break up with people, hopefully you and Jared are together forever, but like you.
We are.
But I do get a lot of questions about, do I unfollow him? And then like you break up with someone, you immediately start looking about their liking activity. He followed 3 new girls.
Well, did you break up with him or did he break up with you?
I mean, I guess
because it makes a big difference there.
Sure, but it shouldn't.
Yes, it should.
What? Oh, why?
If you get broken up with, then of course you're still gonna be like, sad and hanging on and actually interested and hurt if that person starts following other people.
True.
But you are the king of like, oh, you were dumped. You should just let it go. You're done. It's over. Move on.
You should if you can, but don't you think sometimes when people break up with other people, a lot of people will, I don't want to be with you, but I'm not ready for you to move on. That happens all the time too.
No, I
so
guess
you'll
yeah,
break up
right.
with someone, and all of a sudden, let's say you break up with someone, and they're like, yeah, you know what? I think you're probably right. You're right. Thank you, actually. And you feel like, wait, what do you mean? You're fine with this? No.
Oh, that's my sister's
Not even a
been like
tear,
that.
or. And then the next, yeah, no, we're good. Thank you. Actually, for being honest, I was going to talk to you about this. And the next day, they follow 4 people. Yet, well, I broke up with you. You're supposed to be
Yeah.
crying. And
No,
people
you're
do it all
right,
the
you're
time.
right, you're
And
right.
I think the clouds are judgment now because again, we have all this access to information that we shouldn't be having to people. And I think it does affect us, and it starts changing our perspective of ourselves, or even the people who, the moms on Facebook, when they're talking about, like, I've been to destination weddings, right? And they're a lot of fun, but it always seems to be like family and friend drama that goes on in destination weddings. There's always like the one friend who showed up late.
Are you excited for our destination?
I actually just got your invitation, and
You should have gone like 6 weeks ago.
yes.
Okay.
I don't check my mail very often, but yes, I got it somewhat recently. But I'm a little, I was thinking about that today. I'm excited for you guys.
But you're not excited for the drama that probably will unfold because there could be like 17 Bachelor alum there?
No, but it's just more selfishly, it's in, Rhode Island?
Yeah.
So the chances of me being in a relationship at that point to say, hey, do you want to come to Rhode Island with me?
Yeah.
I feel like are slim to
Yeah,
none.
you're
So it's not like it's an
getting
LA
to that line.
wedding where it's just like, hey, we've been hanging out for a week. You want to go to this thing? So I'm probably going to show up alone to this wedding where I'll be like, yeah, still here. By myself. And I can't wait to see who's on the guest list. That's going to be super awesome. I'm sure it'll be fun.
I think you'll be fine.
It'll be fine. But no, I'm very excited about it. But yeah, it would be, maybe, who knows? Maybe it will have met someone by then.
Anything can happen.
Anything's possible. But yeah, so anyways, I thought it would be fun.
That could be really awesome, very magical.
What do you mean?
If you just happen to find someone in the next 4 months and that's it. And then you're done. And she's it. And you're married and you could be a dad.
That would be great because my Instagram could really need it because I mean, you all it's all about babies and
oh my God, I do.
I'm so jealous of Tanner.
I'm so jealous of Tanner and Jade.
No, but Tanner's just like, I'll just get him a picture of my baby, and I'm here trying to figure out what the hell. I don't know. If people ask me if I wasn't on the show, I would never have a social media. My friends I grew up with, they have an Instagram. They post maybe twice a year.
Yeah.
And that's what I would do if I didn't, and so now it's just I'm thankful that I have it and I can run a business off of it and there's a lot of opportunities it brings and I wouldn't have a podcast at the level it is now and I don't think any of you would be here if I didn't have the recent social media, so I'm thankful for it. But I wouldn't have it, so now I could joke and be like, well, no, I guess I'll take off my shirt and start painting Bob Ross stuff. I don't and I try to have some fun with it, but it's
I was thinking, you have not posted a picture in quite some time, have you?
it takes.
I was thinking about this earlier today. I was like,
Thank
I don't
you.
think Nick's posted Instagram in over a week.
It's stressful. I don't have the baby.
Is it the bleeding?
The what?
The bleeding.
Bleeding.
Follower bleeding?
No, I think I'm fine.
Oh, great. There you go.
Is that see, something Ashley stresses over.
Oh, see, I always look at the follower count to see if I'm bleeding.
I don't look at my that at all.
It's called bleeding, you guys, for the Bachelor alum.
Do you look at that?
Yeah, I look at it.
No.
Yeah, it sucks.
I don't look at it at all.
It means that you're losing followers rapidly.
Here's what it means.
It usually happens in the Bachelor off season.
Such an unrelatable.
I'm being very honest right now.
No, she is. I appreciate that. No, here's what happens every it's like this new thing with people who go on the show, right? You overnight get this huge following. And it's like, wow, first you're excited, you don't know what this, you kind of wondered if you would, and then you get it and you're just like, this is crazy. And then you get a lot of comments that are usually positive, and there's always some negative ones, and that's a whole nother journey of getting used to that. And you have this, every time you post a picture, like everyone's liking it. You're like, oh my gosh, I can post a picture of a Band-Aid and like, I'm gonna get 10,000, wild, you know? And then there's always like the show ends and people go to their lives, and like people kind of, there's like two reactions that people ask, does the show change you? And I don't really think it changes you for the most part as a person, but I think what it does is sometimes change your short-term kind of perspective in life sometimes. And so sometimes it gives you kind of this false sense of who you are, that you get used to like, you're very gracious and excited about someone saying, oh my God, are you so-and-so from The Bachelor? And you're like, yeah, I am actually, sure. And you're really excited about it. And always like this period I think everyone goes through where they kind of lose sight of, the fans' reaction, where they show up and they go to a bar like, oh, I'm gonna take pictures again. Only for like a couple months go by and they walk in a bar and no one gives a shit, right? Because people go on with their lives. And there's always like that moment where you see this group of, usually young women. And you're like, they're Bachelor fans. They probably, I can spot them. and you kind of do this thing where you're just like, okay, well, I'm ready. Okay, hi, and then no one says anything, and you're like, no, that's totally fine. No, that's totally cool. And you're like, you know what? The bathroom's over there. You know what? I need to get a Kleenex for my ride home. I'm gonna walk that way again, and then you kind of like make eye contact as you walk by. And so like, oh, are you? Yes, I am. I'm Nick from. And I think everyone does that. And
since we're being super honest and talking about that. Have you ever had somebody come up to you and say, can you get a picture? And then you think that they want a selfie with you, but actually they wanted you to take a picture of them? That's happened twice to me. They're like, can you take a picture? They just said simply, can you take a picture? Yeah. And I go, yeah, of course.
Yeah, no, that's happened.
And it was like in selfie mode.
I never got that far, so I think to ask, but it can warp your perspective sometimes. I always kind of get nervous though too sometimes. I always try to be gracious, but I can get awkward sometimes because I don't know, or the fan who will come up, and because like sometimes it's always weren't you like, hey, you were on the show, and I don't know what to do in that situation, because it's like, all right, well, I'm gonna make you say it, because if I'm like, The Bachelor. Didn't we go on a date like a year ago? And I'm like, yes, I'm afraid of that, right? So like, I'm not gonna be like, I'm gonna wait for you to say it. And most times they know, and they don't want to say it. So there's that fear of
they go, are you?
That hasn't happened, but I have that fear of like, well, if someone is playing dumb or they don't know, I don't know what to say, and that there'll be this like stare off, like, you were on the, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure I could know the answer to this, but I really don't feel comfortable with the first one saying it.
Oh, it's so funny. Jared had this guy in the airport come up to him. He's like, we know each other, right? Are you from Boston? And Jared goes, well, yeah, I'm from the area. And then he's like, no, like we went to school together, right? And then you're just like watching him struggle. And then you're like, oh, I think you know me from The Bachelor, because
Jared's the best, though.
I didn't go to that school.
Jared really is the best at this, and he's over there in the corner.
He was convinced that he actually knew the guy from school. Like he was so sweetly naive to think that like he could possibly know him.
No, but Jared is he's one of the sweetest guys I know, and he's so gracious, and he never, like, it's impossible for Jared to come across as douchey. I really think it's impossible for him. And so he has such like this youthful excitement about his experience, and so I'll sometimes, I've been out with Jared and that will happen. And again, I will do this kind of awkward, like, I'm not gonna say it. Are you gonna say it? I'm not gonna say it. And someone will be like, hey, do you guys, and Jared like in 3 seconds, like, yeah, I'm from The Bachelor. I met my fiance there, and I don't know if you've seen the episodes, but like, at first I didn't, and he's really excited and he lights up, and the fans are really great about him. Like, oh, okay, and he's really gracious about it, but I can't do it. I don't know how he does it, because it never comes across as like he's bragging about it, so he's really good at that.
Yeah, he's much better than everybody.
But anyways, he's wonderful.
I did that to your dad though earlier. It was so weird. I saw your dad and your mom out there, and like on the promenade, and I go. He goes, are you looking for the same place that I'm looking for? And I was like, probably. And then I was like, I know you.
You guys,
how do I know you? And then I didn't realize I never met him in real life.
You did not?
No, I've never met him until tonight in real life.
Huh. Yeah. I've met your mom.
Yes, you
I've
met my
not
mom a couple
your dad.
times. Yeah, you never met my dad. You met him on FaceTime a couple times, and back when he didn't like you.
Yeah, well.
It was weird times.
He was tweeting about me. It was super weird. It's like, I can read your tweets, sir. But yeah, Ashley was like the bleeding, I guess, Ashley, we didn't answer their question, but yeah, again, after you have this overwhelming burst, and then people kind of get sick of you, which is normal. And when you have a certain number of following, every time you post a picture, it is an opportunity to remind someone, why am I following you? And so people, it just happens to literally anyone with a following, and it's a thing. I don't look at it. I try not to. Social media brings me anxiety.
Yeah. Do you think it's because you're single though? Because I found that social media brought me so much more anxiety when I was single, because of course I'd see crushes, like doing things, possibly following really hot girls. Like that brought me a lot of anxiety. But Instagram now, in a relationship now, it's just like a business thing for me. I don't think of it like I don't go on these search sprees where I find myself in like scary situations, like, oh my god, I didn't know that he was following her, and then you like go in all the tag pictures and you see that they hung out.
Well,
like that was the anxiety of social media for me.
With Jared and him.
No,
having
not
fun
just
with me.
I mean like before Jared even, who's on his phone right now.
A little bit of. He's heard us.
I know he's heard this conversation.
It's a little bit of both, right? In my personal life, I don't think social media does me any favors. Of like having it's just meant to give you FOMO about literally anything, and that's anyone, right? I mean, to see what's going on, or and then I same as you, I use it as a platform to do the things I want to do, and again I joke about it, but I think it's weird to post, a picture of me, but I know that when I post a picture that people, I either post pictures of myself or pictures with you and my bachelor friends, because when I post pictures of regular friends, yeah, the internet tells me to stop doing that. And what I mean by that is...
That's it's very sad, but it's just like...
And because the only reason I have Instagram is for this opportunity to do things, it's like, great, fine, I'll just do this, because my friends outside of this world, they don't care. So it's not like they need to have the validation that we're friends, and so that's why I do it. So I do stress about I have fun painting, but in any other world, would I record myself painting and think of jokes to tell while I'm doing it? And I try to have fun with it. And I will say it's been fun because it helps. I've become a lot more creative, and I'm tapping into things I've never done before that I used to do when I was a kid, and I'm doing now. So that's fun, but it also, I sometimes wish it would come more organically, but I do try to do a lot of things and practice those things, to the things that bring me anxiety and stress, like social media, reading comments. I try not to do. I don't look at my analytics on social media, because nothing about it is going to be positive about it. Yeah, and I always said I was always thankful of getting criticism before I got praise on the show, is because that gave me a lot of perspective, because it's the positive comments that do you the most harm to you. I truly believe, because it absolutely warps your sense of perspective. Because it's easy to read positive comments. It's like, oh, heart emoji, you're hot. Why don't you, oh, you're great. And then all of a sudden you read 50 positive comments, and out of nowhere comes this I am so sick of you, go away. And we're like...
I think that one gets me more than most. If you criticize my personality, I'm like, okay, we wouldn't get along, that's fine, or you don't get me, or you don't know me in real life. But I think the go away or 15 minutes of fame is done annoys me so hard.
That's the worst one?
I don't like that, because... I got my master's in broadcasting. This is what I've always wanted to do. And it's just no, I'm sorry. I made a sort of a business and career out of it.
Do you get defensive?
Yeah.
No, I get it. I feel that sometimes too. My least favorite one, and it's it kind of equates to like in a dating situation, and it's when someone says, "I used to like you, but you've changed, and now I'm gonna unfollow you." That to me is the worst.
Really?
It's like
You've
I used to have your
changed?
validation. And it's like you break up with someone, and you're just like, "You've changed. Yeah, you have changed," and you're just like, The only thing that's
why
changed is
does
my
it-
feelings for you. You know.
Yeah, so why
that bugs
do you
me.
think that
Doesn't-
gets to you? Because you feel like you haven't changed?
Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of like that when you're friends with someone, you're like, everyone thinks this about you. You know, it's kind of like this just vague thing. You know they're making up. You know they're just saying it because they know it's gonna bug you, and it does. And they're like, you won. I don't. That's what bugs me about it. Where it's just like, well, and it's like, well, I haven't. You know, I had that conversation, like the same way you had that conversation with your head. It was like, well, I have this degree and I'm doing X, Y, and Z, and I'm really proud of the hustle I've done and where I've come. I'm like, well, I mean, I really haven't changed, you know? Like I'm not going to, but if I gave you all the numbers of my family and friends, I'd be like, you know, he's pretty much the same guy. He's got some same bad qualities and good qualities, and I get defensive that way.
You can't convince them otherwise in a message.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so everybody stresses before they post a picture. Now we need to ask, what are the reasons?
Making sure that the caption fits like the picture.
Oh, don't talk about me and Nick about captions. We know the power of a caption. It is the most stressful
game changer.
thing. I think 75% of a post success is the caption. Oh, look, everybody agrees. So, do you have a hard time coming up with the creative?
Yeah, I mean, like the one moment that I could think of, I recently studied abroad. So one picture got a lot of likes because I was out in Rome, and then I posted a similar photo and it like dwindled down, and I was like, oh, how sad. I was like, it was relatively the same post, kind of the same.
Maybe it's because they already saw it.
You know? And that was my other thing. Like you have to, like I worry about like what time of day it is. And then I also worry about like when I was back in Rome, like, okay, if it's 10 p.m. here, people are waking up back home, people are gonna see it, it's gonna be on their feed, okay. But then you think, what's it called? Am I posting too much of this or am I not?
Yeah.
I don't know, it's like a whole...
Real world problems.
First world problems.
I think it's funny that we're all kind of laughing at it, but we all struggle with the same thing.
But I think that's what's fascinating because we'll get a lot of questions about, people asking us about our experience and what's it like to have X number of followers. And the truth is what it sounds like, it's literally the same. It's all relative. I had this idea. It's like the Jimmy Kimmel mean tweets.
Yeah.
Only it's just kind of funny, but I haven't. I had my producer Rochelle print these off, so I don't know about them too much. I've perused over, but I assume we're gonna have reactions to them. And I guess the point is like when we all do this, we all read comments about ourselves and reaction that it might not be as direct or opinionated as some of the stuff here, but. We have these reactions that we didn't have to before, or when friends are talking and commenting on social media. We have access to these conversations we never had before, and then what we do with it, I think, is just an interesting conversation and things that we should maybe think about in life when it comes to dating, or just in life. But I became aware of Reddit when I do my questions with Nick, and I started getting questions.
That's when you became aware of Reddit.
I heard about it through you guys. There used to be this thing called bachelorfan.net.
Yeah. I looked at that.
And when you got off the show before, like people who got off before would be like, "Hey, dude, there's this website, and they're talking about us already, and they know a bunch of stuff."
And they're like, if you want your self-esteem to stay intact, do not
go on. Or at first, bachelorfan.net, you would have your fan group. So then that was, again, dangerous because you'd go on this page and you'd have like these conversations about you. You'd feel real good. You look and you're like, it's probably just 12 ladies who are just talking over. And so that turned in, Reddit became a thing with this platform. And no, I didn't, for that reason, again, not looking at my analytics, not reading. There's things I try to do to have a healthier life. And so I stayed off it until I started a business. And then I became aware of Reddit when I did questions with Nick. People were asking me, do you go on Reddit? Apparently, there's this a person on Reddit that some other people on Reddit think I am that person. It was Scout. Because I have a friend named Rumor who has a sister named Scout. They're like, "Are you Scout?" I'm like, "What do you mean? Am I Scout? I know a Scout, and because Scout's a unique name.
Yeah.
I'm not that person." But I became curious about it, and when I started my business, Natural Habits, through my website, you get analytics about where you get traffic, and I was getting traffic from Reddit. So there was a link right there, and it just said Reddit, and I was just like, fuck it. And I clicked it, and I went on, and I was actually, it was better than I thought, because I just assumed the absolute worst.
Yeah.
And then it's a dark hole. You're like, I'll just look, I'll just peek, I'll just check it out.
I
and
know,
then
and sometimes
34 minutes later,
you're
just like
just
on
click
page,
it again.
You're just like, what did you say about me? Really? And it's weird because like they passionately will have long conversations. They'll have these discussions and just debates, and they've watched you long enough, and you will get defensive because like, I kind of equate it to like horoscopes. They're somewhat specific, but generally vague. So if they say enough, you're like, well, yeah, I guess that's kind of, yeah, I've done that, okay. And then when they do that, you're like, you know what? Yeah, that does make me, that's a bad habit of mine. But like horoscopes, you read a horoscope, and you're like, that's totally me. That's totally me. I do that. Yeah, I'm definitely a Gemini.
My frustration with it is I'll read it. It's just exactly like you. I'll go long periods of time without reading. I discovered it during Winter Games, and I will read it every now and then. But I'll go with long breaks not reading it, and then I'll have these compulsions where I'll read it all the time. And it usually has to do with like something that I've put out there, like it was a really good podcast episode, and I want to see what people thought about it, or like our book. I want to see what people are talking about our book, or.
I did that after the first podcast episode. I looked.
So it depends. It's something new.
And it's dangerous because you're going there to see what people think. You're going there for validation.
Yeah.
And that is not the place to go to. Because there's a lot of positive stuff there too. But it's like it's a trap. It's like 5 positive comments. Like, I really like the podcast. I really like the show. Damn, I'm doing right. I'm doing good things. And all out of nowhere, like that was the most boring episode I've ever listened to. I want to shoot myself.
Well, when it's about that stuff, then it's just like black and white. I think what's really annoying or frustrating for me is when they'll talk about a certain situation and they didn't know they think they know the whole situation,
sure.
But like they only knew very small components of it, not the entire.
But it's funny because you have a reaction as if you're arguing to your friend about it, defending yourself.
Oh yeah, and then I'll be like, Lauren, Jared, this is what they said. It's like they don't know this. It's ridiculous. Okay, let's move on.
I'm gonna. Should we read these?
Yeah,
some of them.
Yeah, we'll read some of them.
Do you have them?
No. Oh, whoops! I was supposed to bring that on stage.
Here, I'm gonna read Ashley's. She's gonna read some of mine.
Okay, this is fun.
It was just more like, I guess get a. Do you wanna go first?
Some of them are just straight funny. Like some of them are like reading mean tweets with Jimmy Kimmel. Like this one, Nick Viall is the Walmart version of Ryan Reynolds.
Which I take as a compliment.
Which is like definitely not bad. Like that is a compliment.
A once-time sexiest man alive combined with a iconic American brand at a great value.
And married to Blake Lively,
I'll take it.
Yeah.
We get it, Ashley. You're engaged.
Yeah, I know. I guess that was, right off the bat.
Did that bug you, though, when people were annoyed by your excitement for your life?
No, that one doesn't get to me. It's like, come on, guys. I went 29 years without having a boyfriend. Let me celebrate this. This one goes, Nick literally went on 4 separate TV shows looking for a wife, and he's still single. It's like, okay, that's a fact.
Yeah, that's a true story. Moving on. In fact, it could sound a lot worse, Yeah,
it could be worse.
This actually, I feel like
you got on 4 shows.
I feel like you're gonna like this one. Ashley and Jared look like the lead actors in a vampire romance film.
Yeah, that's a total compliment. Like, thank you. The Cullens were supposed to be stunning. That was a thing. That's how they got to eat people, because they lured them in.
That is the best, though, when someone's trying to criticize you and they accidentally compliment you.
Yeah.
And Ashley's like, you know what? Thank you.
Thank you.
That makes me feel good.
Because I always thought I was a wolf.
That to happen. Yeah. I thought you'd like that one.
Yeah, I did like it. Okay, so it's so annoying to realize that I would 100% date Nick and 100% hate every second of it. But she'd still want to date you.
There's 2 criticisms and 1 kind of compliment that first of all, it's like, I hate to admit I would date him. Oh, I hate myself for dating. But I would. However, it would be terrible. There's a lot packed in that one sentence.
Yeah. But it definitely could be worse.
You know, whatever. What else we got? If I ever want to go on a diet, all I need to do is watch her and Jared Instagram stories and I'll lose my appetite.
Well, you know, don't watch them unless you want to get really skinny.
I gotta say, I truly loved when you guys dressed up as Jasmine and
Yeah, I know. Thank you.
Jared is a great fiance.
That's probably one that was
Actually, the
written.
truth is about that is, while Jared looks like just the loving fiance who will do anything at Ashley's behest, Jared really enjoyed doing that.
Maybe not the Aladdin one, but definitely the Notebook one.
Jared
And the Titanic one.
absolutely loved doing that, and he was like, "No, I don't. Okay, sure, fine."
He likes acting.
Yeah, that's what makes Jared Jared. He's
Yeah.
wonderful.
He likes being cheesy.
What do you got?
Oh. Okay, this one says, God, I love when dumb people who think they're smart try to explain things like the Stanford prison experiment, which is, I'm assuming, a podcast topic of yours.
I said it on another podcast.
Oh, you did?
I've used that as a way to describe what The Bachelor is. Are you guys familiar?
I'm not familiar.
Well, here, someone on Reddit is gonna be like, this fucker's trying to explain it again. I've heard mixed things whether it was true or not, but it was a study back in like the 70s or 60s of a Stanford professor who had students basically live in a very controlled atmosphere and played roles. They were inmates and guards, and they took on the roles of their environment and lost their mind. It was like they had to shut it down in a couple days because they really got into the role, and that is what is The Bachelor. Is
Okay.
you're in a very controlled atmosphere, but yeah.
But what about when
Also,
people
I've
call you
noticed-
dumb?
I think on Reddit,
Which you're absolutely
What?
not.
Fine, but whatever. An interesting comment
doesn't
about
care
that.
when
Here's the
people
thing
tell
about like what I think about that when I read Reddit is because to make yourself feel better about comments or things like Reddit is like, well, they don't know me. They're just. I've heard this phrase. Well, there's like mean old fat trolls who like have they're living at their parents' house. And then you read it and you like will meet people who are met there on Reddit and they're like, no, damn it, she looks like a really normal person. And you're a lawyer? Okay, you're smart. And you're the people on Reddit who have these opinions of me. Awesome. So like it's weird. It's and to hear you before you were on the show be a person
Yeah.
as a Jonas Brother fan. And
But I did say this at American Idol concerts. So I used to be on the American Idol message boards all the time.
were you mean about like who because you're a passionate fan. So you had your fan favorites, so the people you didn't like.
When it came to Jonas, it was all about being mean towards the girlfriends. But with American,
But there you go.
But
you
with
know?
American Idol, I was just being jealous of the girlfriends.
And they're probably the most vulnerable. No, I mean like all the Jonas Brothers are probably used to it. They start dating a girl, right? Who's like excited they're dating Joe or Nick.
Yeah, Joe.
And and I guarantee you, here's what happened. One of their family members of these new girls they're dating are very excited they're dating, and then like Aunt Becky, family Full House.
Becky?
Yeah, bad. We talk about that on next week's podcast. Aunt Kelly, and she goes like, "Hey, there's this blog about this. Are you aware of this, Jonah? It's always like
But it
this
was
aunt
always
or
like
cousin.
Taylor Swift. It was Camila Bell. It was
No, but-
Ashley Green. Like they were huge people.
But
They
family
weren't-
members will reach out to these people and let them know this thing exists. And these girls will go on it, and all of a sudden, just like we'll start reading about all these things. These fangirls, I certainly would go out and be like, I don't even like her hair. Oh my God, she used to look like this. Did she do a glow up? And this, I guarantee you this happens, and I'd feel bad for those girls that you probably were shitting on.
I had a lesson here. Okay, so I was always very jealous of the Jonas girlfriends.
Because you said it like, well, I wasn't mean to the Jonas Brothers, but the girls, yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
I totally was mean to them.
Besides the point. So I went on the American Idol message boards. I don't know what I used to say on there, but I know that when I read them back, I'm extremely embarrassed by my actions.
You read them back?
Oh, no. Like, I've read old tweets lately when the Jonas Brothers reunited. I went back and I read old tweets from a decade ago, and it was cringe central. And normally I laugh at myself. But these American Idol message boards, whatever, I would comment, blah, blah, blah. But then there was a time where I would go backstage and I get to meet them at the meet and greet, and they were all so much different than TV, and they were so much nicer, and the people that you thought were standoffish were actually the most warm and welcoming. And then I said, I can't comment on people's personalities anymore, because when you meet them in person and it's just totally different. You really don't know somebody based on TV.
Yeah, no, but I also think, in fairness to the people on it too, is I think sometimes what The Bachelor is to the fans of The Bachelor, and I guess more women than men, it's the same thing as people who are sports fans, who, I'll call up my buddy who lives in Milwaukee and be like, man, you know what the Packers did? They traded him done, and for 30 minutes we'll just be talking about a bunch of guys who wear jerseys and what they did on a Sunday night. And it's truly, because I think about it, like, well, why are they talking about this for 20 minutes and writing blogs? And I'll like wonder why, and then I'll call up Jim in Milwaukee and be like, we have got to talk about yesterday's game. And Jared and I would do that all the time. So I guess it is the same. It's just, I guess, weird for me when it's the other way around.
Yeah.
And so I guess when you have that experience.
Basically, you really can't judge somebody until you meet them in real life. That's really.
Do we have any more fun ones on here? I was waiting for one that.
You want like really mean ones, not funny ones?
One pisses one of us off, so it's like, it's just kind of interesting to like hear. It's my point of it's hard not to, even when I was reading, you watch Jimmy Kimmel's mean tweets, it's like you're reading, it's just like ha 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 ha, like, I'm laughing, but like we're hearing it, and it's kind of like. We have reactions, which is kind of like my point to social media when we're all on it, and how we try. My point of all this is we should try to just be more mindful of it and try not to have it impact our lives so much. But what do you got?
I didn't hear what you said for the past 15 seconds because I read one that I can't believe that you have approved for me to read. It's number 19.
Well, I didn't read all of them.
Do you want to read it? Do you want to read it for me?
Go ahead. I can always cut it out of
Is that the choking on his own?
No, it's not the choking one. All right, here we go. I can't believe somebody would think that January Jones wants anything to do with Nick. January has already publicly rejected Nick once. Nick has nothing to offer her except his small penis and terrible sex.
Rochelle.
You made me find more. I had 5. He's like, more.
He's blushy.
I don't even know where to start. You can't. How do you get defensive about something like that?
She knows that this woman apparently knows that it's terrible sex.
Also, yeah.
Oh my!
I have noticed when it comes to like opinions about me, it's always one of the two. Either I'm a man whore, so I like, well. He must be at least good in bed, but he can't hold a relationship.
This one
so he's
said
like, fuck, Mary Carol. Or it's the opposite. Like, well, 2 girls broke up with him on TV, so of course he's terrible.
Number 23 says, I'm convinced he must be just terrible in bed.
Okay.
Why are you looking at me? I didn't write this.
No, it's fine. No, I mean, listen, that's it's both the criticism and praise I even get on my social, where it's like I'll post something and a positive comment I get often was like, oh, we love you. How are you still single? Like, or, dude, what is wrong with you? Why are you still single? So it's either it's meant that's used. My dating life is often it's used both as a way to compliment or criticize.
When was the last time that you were told that somebody wasn't interested in you anymore, and how did that make you feel?
It's a great question. It hasn't happened in a while.
That doesn't tell us when.
I don't mean it like. I'm just saying like I I do think in my dating life I am more guarded now. So like, if I go on a first date, I think there's times where, you know, on a first date it's a lot to get to know, and I feel like there's this kind of this, without saying, it's like that's that one commercial where like they're saying the things that they would normally say if they're not polite, where it's like, we'll never see each other again, right? And they're like, yeah, we'll never, but I'm gonna tell you I'm gonna call you, but we're not. And I feel like I go on dates where I feel like there's this like, it was a great time, yeah, let's do this again. And I feel like there's this mutual like, well, it was nice knowing you. So there's that on first dates. And then again, I feel like I'm guarded where I don't, you know, sometimes I question about when, you know, ultimately I don't think I just have met that person, but if I try to be self-reflective on my dating life or my choices, I have a concern about me being a little too guarded or not opening up, so I'll kind of be like, no. And so I haven't let it get to that point.
Is that guarded or being picky?
I don't know, to be honest. I mean, people like to say, well, I'm too picky, and I don't necessarily like that phrase. I never liked
that either, because I got the I'm you're
pretentious,
too picky so much. But like, do you try to find flaws when there isn't? I mean, I truly feel like the whole picky thing, it's just like, you just haven't found your person yet.
Yeah, because I've met a lot of great women with, you know, just if you meet them, you're like, they're great, you know, like beautiful and smart and intelligent, and I just, for whatever reason, I'm not excited you know, and so there's just none of that, and I wonder sometimes if I'm subconsciously finding reasons not to be excited about it. Now, I'm not like picking them apart, be like, I'm not gonna go with her again because I don't like this about her. It's just more, you know, sometimes I think out there in the dating world, it's paralysis of choice. It's like we're trying too hard to find that perfect person. We now have this abundance of options. Dating apps, we all do it. We're matching with 3 to 4 people at a time, and then we're having 3 or 4 conversations, and everyone's matching and no one's actually getting together. And if they do, you don't really know if they're the only people getting together. And if you have a pretty nice, good time, you're like, well, that was good, but I'm going out with Ron tomorrow, you know, kind of thing. So I think we're all kind of not ready to, like, we're all kind of weighing our options a lot more than we did in the past.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And I think in the past, you'd meet someone, you'd be attracted, you'd have a great date, and you'd be like, well, yeah, let's see it through. And I think a lot of times we're all doing that, and I know I do that a lot too.
Yeah. I feel like sometimes, though, when people say that, you know, oh, you're too picky, it's just like, well, I'm sorry, I just don't fall easily. Like, unless I feel something really intense, then people like to think that, oh, give them chance after chance after chance, but it's like, and it's not there. It doesn't mean that I'm like picky, because like the right person, I'm gonna love them for all their flaws. I'll be attracted to their flaws even.
Yeah, I mean, that's ultimately my hope in my dating life, and I will say that I feel like the type of person I want to be with, I've met. And I've had them in my life at periods of times, you know, timing, you know. So what I'm saying is, like, I've met that person or that type of person that to have the connection I know I want with someone. It just didn't work out, or timing wasn't right. And I guess that kind of keeps me kind of focused on what I want in life, and I don't worry about being too picky.
Okay, so I got one more question in this like grilling session of you, sorry. But do you believe in timing? Because there's like 2 different theories on this. One, if you're supposed to be with that person, the timing, it doesn't have to be right. You're just going to be with them no matter what. And like, they should be able to give you everything, even if they like didn't expect that at that time. Or the other theory on timing is that, you know, it truly is like in Sex and the City. They have the light that go up. So they say if the light's on, then the guy is ready for marriage, and like the next person that he dates seriously will be his one. But it's like, oh, his light's off. That means like he's not going to be available to anyone.
I think there's truths to both. I think sometimes timing could be a personal thing about an individual if they're not in the right headspace. I think timing, like you and Jared, is all about
It was
timing.
really truly about timing.
It's a timing thing. And it wasn't just a timing thing. Sometimes it was realizing what you might have. You know, it's a lot of variables that went into it. But timing was a
component, yeah.
Was a component of it. You know, and I think certain people in their life, they could be going through something. And it might not even be like, well, I'm just not ready to have a girlfriend or a boyfriend. They just might be dealing with some shit, and they're not their best self. Or, you know, 2 people can meet at 23 and just have some maturing to do, and they might be a better fit at 28.
So if a guy is like, I'm sorry, it's just a really bad time at work. Like, I'm really busy. I'm focusing on this new career. Like, is that a legitimate excuse, or is that he's just not that into you?
Why can't it be both? I mean, sometimes.
What do you guys think?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
No, I totally agree. That's what I'm saying. It doesn't. I totally agree with our audience member in front. Is that I get a lot of questions. Yes, he doesn't like you.
Either
also,
way, it's not going to happen right now.
Either way,
Yeah.
you don't get him.
Yeah.
we don't always need a valid. That's totally right. We don't always need a valid reason, right? We don't. We always try to be like, well, does he mean what he say? Is it a line? I got a lot of questions that today. Is it a valid? You're like, oh, is it just a line? Well, does he really not want? He doesn't like you. I know that, and and that's. And my point is we're focused and trying to figure out the reasons.
I mean, so Nick's not always right, but I am the exception to the rule if we're gonna go by he's just not that into you at the movie.
And then Jared, I mean, we talked about this. It wasn't until the classic sale, and not like I know Jared he can get defensive, but Jared, it's not like he wasn't into you then, and you needed to move on for Jared to kind of appreciate that.
He was more confused that he was leading on to pretty much everybody around him.
What do you mean?
Like he had feelings. He just wasn't sure. I was so different than everything that he imagined, and he wasn't completely there yet. So he didn't acknowledge any or inkling of feelings to a lot of the people around him. But they were always in there.
You don't think it had anything to do with you finally?
Of course.
You kind of accepted the reality that Jared and you weren't going to be together.
Yeah, but that pushed him to accept his feelings and move forward with them.
And that happens, and that's okay sometimes. Sometimes, though, we do need to. It's not a bad thing. That happens a lot, and there's nothing wrong with. Sometimes you realize what you had all along.
Is it weird we're talking about you with you sitting there?
Hello. It's a little weird. Yeah, but no, Nick is absolutely right. Some people need a kick in the ass, and I certainly did, and still do continuously every day, as my beautiful fiance
And
knows.
I love kicking him in the ass.
But it does actually. It's kind of funny, Nick. You tapped on a subject that I've always talked about with comments on Instagram and validation and kind of creating your persona about what people think about you. And I do completely agree with you that positive comments can sometimes be worse than negative comments, because I think from my own experience from being on The Bachelorette, kind of getting thrown into it and not really knowing what I was doing, and then again on Bachelor in Paradise with you, Ashley, our first season, I did get a lot of praise and a lot of positivity out of that, and people making assumptions that I was the nicest guy, and that, oh my God, you're so sweet and you're ready for marriage and you have everything together, when the truth was I really didn't, and I was far more confused and unprepared than I could possibly ever imagine. And then I tried living up to those expectations of being the nicest guy and trying to, okay, well, no, I do know what I want, and I'm not confused, and I can't make decisions like that. And I think that hurt me in a lot of different areas, and I think it honestly hurt our relationship for a very long time, until it came to a point where you obviously were dating someone else, and I realized how much, excuse my language, I was a fucking idiot and basing so many decisions on what other people were thinking of me. And then, so, I don't know, just figured I'd chime in.
Do you remember the first time, because you got, when it was on Bachelor in Paradise, when it was kind of like the last time, when I was on it, and
yeah,
you got a little bit of heat that season for the first time, I think, ever, of were you leading, both a little bit, and it was interesting. Do you remember that?
Very tiny bit, but yeah.
But before that, Jared literally got none, and so it was your reaction to that was, I remember you
fiery.
Well, I also think, because in my head I was trying to do the best I could, and the best I could was not leading Ashley on in any way.
No, I don't. I just mean the reactions in general. That's the fact that people for the first time had something other than "you're the sweetest guy ever," and what was that experience like to not get the because that was kind of, like I said, my premise of it's the positive comments that will lead you down a path to, if you ever get a negative comment, to because my point of saying is, if you believe the negative of the positive, you have to believe the negative. If you believe all the positive things that who people don't know about you, and they don't really know you, and you believe all the compliments of you're the greatest, or you're the sweetest, or blah, 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 and you're like, yep, and then all of a sudden out of nowhere, the negative comes, your subconscious has to believe the negative. Like, it won't let you not, because you've all these other comments you've believed. And so that's my point of, like, I sometimes feel very grateful that my experience when it comes outside opinions at first was more negative than positive, so that helped me have some perspective when I got praise.
Yeah, it's interesting for me because with you, I didn't believe the positive comments. And I think that was always a battle in my head, because if I'm being honest, there's a big part of me that is an insecure man. And as one of my good friends and my fiance, you guys can know that sometimes I do get defensive because I do believe some things that are said badly about me. And so I think with the good comments, I was always striving to be that person.
Okay.
You know, and then so when the bad comments started coming, I was believing them far more than I ever believed positive comments.
That's interesting.
true.
I do remember, though, I was hanging out with Jared a lot when Ashley was not dating, when he was, what's his name? Kevin? Whatever. And, like, they were just friends, and so, like, I was just assuming they're friends, and I was like, oh, so it's, you know, Ashley's she's dating so-and-so. And he'd be like, yeah. I'd be like, easy, buddy. Like,
He thought you weren't picking up on his annoyance, and you.
I was at first, but it was out of nowhere. I just didn't think they were. Because at that point, you guys were
You're
just
like,
friends.
It's been 3 years.
I was like, whoa, okay, guess so. I won't bring it up. Anyways, I just thought, I just wanted to talk about social media. I thought that, it affects our lives, and so thanks, Ashley, for sharing that with me. I figured now we'll. There's one comment here that is about you and I, and it's
okay. Yeah.
They need to go back to their real jobs.
Yeah. So that's the kind of those are the ones that really hit
But it
home.
was
I'm
lumped
like,
as us. It was about us
this
together.
Is what I wanted to be my dream job. So sorry, not going back anywhere.
But anyways, I thought maybe we'd open some questions up to the audience. I'll read Ashley's. Ashley's question is: how do you deal with someone who just can't get over it? Over it? Yeah. Do you just stop talking or let them off slow? So you don't like someone?
No.
Why don't you just come up here?
No.
Come on, Ashley. You can sit here. Sit here. Sit here. All right. So what's the situation?
No. So I was outside with my friend Mel, and I was just like, "What question should I ask him?" I'm actually married. Thank you. Been married for 4 years, so there really wasn't like a question. But I was like, let me think back to like single day Ashley.
So what's the imaginary situation?
So like when someone says like, let's say like you really don't want to talk to them anymore, and you're just like, oh, okay. Do you just like let them go? Like, sorry, it didn't work out. Like, let's call it quits.
Ghost?
Yeah.
You want to? Should you? Okay.
Don't ghost anyone.
I'm so sorry. You're so nice, but it just didn't work. Like, do you let them off nicely, or do you just like cut it?
It's better to cut it because they'll get over it faster. If you ghost them, they're always gonna wonder what if and if there was anything they did wrong. Even though it seems harsher in the moment to tell them straight up, in the long run, their feelings are gonna linger less because of you being upfront.
What do you guys think about ghosting? I personally think people ghost for themselves. They don't ghost. I don't think when they say that, well, I don't want to be mean. No, you're being a puss, and you don't know how to deal with an awkward situation, so you don't, and it's not for their sake, it's for your own. When people say things like, I feel bad. No, you don't feel bad.
Oh, I felt horrible. What do you mean?
But you feel like
I felt so much guilt. If I hated going on dates because there was.
We're talking about ghosting people.
You feel.
But your opinion is to be direct, right? So you feel bad, but the people who have an excuse of like, I don't want to be honest because I feel bad, so I just won't say anything at all.
Oh, okay.
Is you're not taking their feelings into consideration. You're only taking your own.
Yeah. That's so true.
And so that's what I think about ghosting. Yeah, so I totally agree with Ashley. You should just let them know. I think people do it all the time too. It's hard because you sometimes don't want to be a jerk about it. I think guys will do this more than women, where it's just like, I had a guy today ask a question on questions like, I like this girl, I'm dating her, I don't like her enough to date her, but I want to keep hooking up with her. And I appreciated his question, but I think sometimes guys will sometimes, I won't really tell her, so I'll just keep talking to her, and and then I think guys will get in this bad habit of leading people on, where they'll do misleading things, and they'll take them out, and they'll say nice things and compliment him, and people are constantly, well, does he like me? Does he not like me? We hook up, but he doesn't really like them at all, and so I think people should just be up front. And if you are up front, you can do that. We're gonna say, listen, I only want to hook up, and you give them an opportunity to say that too.
I
think that's
don't
what people
like
should
you
do.
enough
What are you
to
doing?
date you, but I do like your stuff enough to hook up with you.
There's stuff enough?
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't want to say body,
You can probably
face.
go back down if you want.
Nah.
Give it up for Ashley.
If you tell any girl that though up front, she's not gonna do anything with you,
do you
date
mean?
you or sleep with you or anything.
What do you mean?
If you were to be upfront with a girl and say, hey, I'm really just interested in hooking up, I don't know how many girls are going to be like, well, I think a lot of girls are going to be like, okay, well, maybe if I hook up with him enough and I show enough of my personality, then I could lead into dating him one day because he'll get to know me more. Yeah.
Is that what we all think?
Yeah, that's what we all think.
So if a guy, I'm asking a question. If a guy, you're dating someone, he's like, listen, I think you're great. Either I don't want a relationship, but I just want to be upfront. I think you're beautiful. I would feel like we're jiving, but if we hook up tonight, it is just a hookup.
No, it's another way in. It's another way for us to get in. We're
So
like,
you're-
okay, right now that is totally fine.
So when you say it's totally
wait till
fine,
wait till you see all
you think
of
we're gonna
this.
change? We're gonna change?
Yeah, we definitely think we're gonna weasel our way into your hearts.
So you guys should stop doing that. You should definitely. It
has worked. Yeah.
It can work.
Can work.
I'm not saying it can't work, but I think more often than not, it is a really risky option to do. I think if a guy, I would argue that in the situation that it works, ultimately he was going to like you anyways. But to get to that point, there was probably a lot of confusion and wondering what he thought. Meanwhile, you're physical with him, you're feeling emotions, and things like that, which led to a lot of confusion. Ultimately, he finally came around great, but you probably could have accomplished that by being like, well, if you, that's fine. Thank you for being honest with me, but that's not what I'm into right now. So if you want to keep hanging out, great, but we're not going to hook up. And I would argue that a guy who likes you, who is going to like you, would respond a lot better to that.
Yeah. Obviously, my ultimate, does he like you? Are you ever going to be together test is just cut him off. And if he comes begging, then it's great.
Yeah.
Then it's, that whole let him go. And if he comes back, it's meant to be type phrase.
Oh, well, let's get to our question
she's
here,
been
then we'll
standing
come
here for so long.
Okay, so I'm really just curious, you guys being Bachelor alums, how the dating life is and how it is to navigate it. Because I can imagine if you go on Bumble, for example, I'm sure every person who sees you is probably like, oh my God, this is Nick from The Bachelor. I'm gonna swipe right, So you get a ton of matches, and then how do you know when people aren't just
Sure.
dating you just to talk to you? And
I haven't done a sponsored post for Bumble like some of my
I
peers
did
have.
Hinge.
That's a great question. Thank you for asking it. I am on a dating app. It is not one of those. It's a dating
Raya.
app. Yeah, sure. I'm on.
I'll know what.
And I'm only on it because for that reason I feel a little safer on. And it's called Raya.
For famous people.
It's not necessarily for that, but there's a level of
There are a lot of randos on it. Yeah.
there's a lot of not
It's more like entertainment industry people.
yeah. So minus that, there's a level that you can't screenshot and you can't do any of that stuff. So there are people in that dating app. There's a a level of again, it's not just, it's more people on there are people I've never heard of, right? There's the occasion of like, oh, okay, well. Yeah. But it's mostly not. But a lot of those people are in that industry or who have met people, who work with people, and that does make me feel safer. I have gone on, so I'm not on those dating apps, but I have gone out in the street or whatever, meet people, and I'll, meet a girl, and I'll find her attractive, and I'll want to go out with her. And in my experience, it has made it harder to go on dates with someone who can't relate to the experiences I've had. And if it is a fan, so I'm thinking, okay, well, I've asked you out, I think you're very attractive, I want to get to know you, and it will happen a lot where I know she knows, right? I know she's seen the show, dollars a donut, she's a fan. And so I won't ever bring it up. If I'm on a date, I don't talk about it, I don't bring it up. I assume it's gonna get to that point, but I never bring it up, ever. I kind of try to avoid it, sometimes too much. And either it just will come up in conversation if they've truly never seen the show, or maybe they heard it and they don't watch it, and they're like, hey, well, I know you're on it, so like, and sometimes they just blow it over. But the fan or the person who can't relate to the experience, sometimes there's a lot of, they're trying not to bring it up, and I can sense that. Or they will even say things like, well, I know you're on it, but I don't care. And it's great. But then they'll like make a lot of, I don't watch it. And then they'll start like telling me a lot about myself. And I'm like, wait, but you didn't watch it. And I appreciate where they're coming from, because I know their motivation is to not act like a fan and try to relate. But that immediately makes me feel unsafe. Because when someone, whether it's with good intention, is lying to you about how they might know you or not know you, that makes me feel uncomfortable. So sometimes that creates a weirdness, and sometimes I will be like, it just feels kind of weird. So that has made it difficult in the dating world to meet someone who I'm interested in, and they might have a hard time relating to these very unique experiences that I've had. You had a quit.
Yes.
Yeah.
We were talking about if you let it go and it comes back to you. I wrote this down on little cards that we gave to you. But okay. So my thing is I just got dumped about a year ago or so, and we're all in the same group of friends, and recently he's started flirting with me again. And so my question is with that, is that it seems to be okay, so I live in a house of 8 girls.
Holy moly.
Yeah, my roommate is here. She's the one who brought me to this. Love you. And then he lives in a house of 10 guys, so we kind of all hang out together. Yeah, it's great. We have so many friends for movie nights. But so he's still we can't really get away from one another, I guess, because we're all friends together. And so he's still flirting with me from time to time, or he's just an a-hole to me,
or he's bleeding you on, aka he's being
okay. Usually it's
or he actually is straight up.
He's just straight up an asshole. Go for it.
Who broke up with who?
He broke up with her.
He dumped me hard and fast after I was like, okay, things are weird, but we can work it out. And then a couple days later, he's like, actually, no, I don't want to do this.
Was there another girl in the picture?
No.
You sure?
Yeah.
She's like, I stalked him.
Yeah.
It's hard to do when you have so many mutual friends. So what's your question?
I guess.
Is he coming back or not?
What should I do about that? Because sometimes he's
just keep playing hard to get. I know that's
what do you want?
She definitely still likes him, loves him, likes him.
What do you still actually like about him? If you were to make a list of pros and cons, including how he broke up with you and how he's been since the breakup, what do you actually like about him? Other than you can't have him.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think there is partially a motivation because it's engagement season and everyone around us.
It's okay. Keep going.
Yeah, it seems like everyone around us is like getting married. We have like outside in our like extended group of friends, there's like 3 different couples that just announced they're getting married. Okay. And like other people who have started dating, and it seems to be like everyone's pairing off, and we're kind of looking at each other like, well, I guess it's you and me. But beyond that, you're looking at me like, okay. No, but
Look at me.
okay. No, but we're like we just vibe really heavy. I don't know. It's like we start talking to one another and get to this point where it has been like hours for us to what are you hand motioning at me? They're magnets.
Oh, that's how Jared. Where'd he go?
I have your answer.
That was exactly how people used to describe us too, though, as magnets. Like no matter how many times, like the circumstances would be so just not good for us to be together, we would always find our way back to each other. So I don't know. I mean, and we went through a lot of ebb and flows. I wouldn't rule them out. I'm just saying I'm not ruling them out.
So one option is Ashley's the exception, not the rule.
I am the exception, not the rule. I understand
So
that.
most likely, that could happen, but most likely what is happening is you have close friends. He knows he has the power, whether consciously or subconsciously, he has the power in this relationship, and it's still a relationship even though you're not dating. And he is either subconsciously or consciously taking advantage of that. And when he flirts with you, it's because he's afraid that you've lost interest in him, even if he doesn't want to be with you. When he spends time with you, he's probably bored, and he's definitely hung out with other women.
He's probably bored when he spends time with her?
Often, yes.
Yeah,
I am sorry, this is like...
Not if they're magnets and they can spend hours
This
just
is not
engaged
your
in
and Jared's
conversation.
relationship,
We
and
don't know.
they
It
did
sounds
date.
like it. You did date.
What am I missing here?
Okay, you have to use the mic.
The thing you're missing is we mutually found out about him still being interested in her through his roommates.
Well, then he's not a good communicator.
So the roommates have confirmed that there is interest together.
Yeah, so like the roommates have pulled me aside and been like, so do you think like she'd go for
How old are you guys?
No, I don't think he means. I hope he doesn't mean that in a condescending way.
Next question.
Because
how old are you?
It doesn't matter whether you're 30. This is stuff that we all go. We talk about this stuff all the time.
I'm just
38.
asking for a reference. How old? I mean, all I'm saying is sometimes when people break up, they break up for a reason, and when they get back together,
She's
or show
24,
interest,
Nick. Cut her some slack. It's fine.
Say hi to Demi, everyone. I do think when we go back to our exes, there's a level of boredom. We broke up, whether there was an issue in the relationship, and sometimes people break up because they want to find out if they can find something better. They do, like a subconscious. And if they come back, you guys broke up for a reason. And I think it is much harder for you to get over him because you share all the same friends. I went through that once with a girlfriend. I broke up with her. She was best friends with my friends. And even though we broke up, it took like almost another year to really break up because we hung out so often and there was the occasional hookup. And just like you and your ex and Ashley and Jared, when we were together, it was awesome and fun, and there was a natural chemistry. And she would always say, like, well, why aren't we together? We have so much fun. Well, my response to her at the time was, listen, we didn't break up because it wasn't how much fun we had when it was great. It was how bad it was when it was bad, because we couldn't communicate, because I wasn't my best self. It had nothing to do with how great I thought she was or my attraction to her. And so I just think you're in a tough situation. You have a harder time getting out. And because you have a natural chemistry with him, it makes it more confusing. But he broke up with you for a reason. And if he really wanted to be with you, he would give you the time that you should think you deserve. And you should have greater expectation of yourself and for him, and not constantly wonder how he feels about you.
And my last word.
And if he comes around, great, but you should move on first.
Oh no.
The last thing I'm gonna say is that I think that we can give advice up the wazoo, but each individual situation is individual and unique, and you never know how it's gonna turn out.
It's possible, but until listen, but fine. But the same thing with like all the thing. If I think you should assume that he's not your person, and if he really wants to be with you, I think he needs to at this point, because he knows he has all the power. he is so used to, I'm assuming, having you in his life whenever he decides he wants to. And it might not necessarily even be his fault because you've given him this power, and at some point you have to take some of that power back and make him realize that he can't have you whenever he wants. And to do that, you truly have to let him go and move on. And maybe he might realize, but most likely you may not care then.
And now my last word. I will say that if you do truly move on is when you really know where he stands. Okay.
Yeah. Give it up.
Now we're gonna
Thanks
move
for
on.
us. Any more of these types of questions, and we'll open up to your.
This gentleman in the
questions.
front row had a great question. Well, you did. You did. Nick loves hearing from his male fans, right, Nick?
Yeah, we call them the 10%ers. Yeah.
Okay, my question was, since dating girls clearly isn't working, would you ever play for the other team?
Hey, listen, love wins. I'm open to anything at this point. I appreciate the question. I'm not there yet. I am very attracted to the opposite sex. I've had,
Are you blushing?
I have a very, when it comes to my dating life, I mean, for all the jokes I make about it and kind of I lean into that character on my social, I'm happy with my dating life and I'm optimistic about my dating life. And even though sometimes it can get discouraging, I'm still very optimistic about, finding that person. And, I make a little bit more of a big deal about my dating life than as is.
Yeah. It's your brand.
Sure. Yeah. Any other?
We got one over there.
Whatever questions.
Come on down. Give her a round of applause.
What's your name? Since you're up here, we want to say hi to everybody.
Hi everyone, my name's Veronica.
Hi, Veronica.
I spilled my beer, guys.
Oh no, did I?
No, you didn't. I did. I just want to make sure that it's not
Sorry
too
about
sloppy.
that.
Okay.
Also, fun fact: you both were my first Bachelor crushes because you were my first season with Andy.
Awesome.
And then with Chris, and so I love both of you. So this is very funny.
Thank you. It's so nice.
So would you all rather have a question more you related or more personal?
It's up to you. It's your time. Yeah. I mean, I don't. Questions about myself aren't fun for me, but I'll.
Oh.
Well, no, but it's always like, why did you and Vanessa break up? It's like.
Oh, okay. No, I thought you meant you didn't like talking about yourself.
Oh, I mean. No. Whatever you want.
Okay, so still dealing with the recent breakup and was wondering what your tips are for moving on and in a way of like self-love and caring about yourself and finding happiness in yourself and not in a way of like moving on to another person or anything like that.
Oh, when you say recently, how recent?
Probably 8 months at this point.
Who broke up with who?
He broke up with me.
Okay. These are important questions.
Yeah, no.
And how, you were bummed, okay.
Yes.
Have you moved on from accepting that he's not your person, or do you sometimes wish you were with him?
I think for a long time I was still like, maybe we'll get back together in the future. I think it took me 6 months to really realize okay, I think it's officially over at this point. Mm-hmm. So, there's still the feelings of I still love him. I wish it still worked out, but obviously nothing's changed.
When you think about the relationship in the past, were you unhappy with things even though he ended it?
No, relationship was super healthy. We were very happy together. Everything was good, up until the breakup.
Okay, I'm sorry.
It was okay.
That's really
Thank you.
What? And then what is he doing now?
So we were doing long distance. So he's still on the other side of the country.
So broke up for that reason.
No, it actually had nothing to do with distance.
Was there another girl?
No, I worried about that too, but no, there wasn't. He was a very faithful person.
Oh, okay.
He is still. He's a good person.
Okay. Well, I mean, listen, breakups can be tough. I mean, yours, it sounded like, do you know why you broke up? Can you share?
In like a nice way, he was going through like a quarter life crisis.
It's a real thing.
Yeah, no, and
I think the quarter life crisis is more real than the midlife crisis.
yeah, no, just like he didn't know what he was doing. Like I was kind of
How old are you?
23.
23?
I forgot for a second. Sorry.
Yeah, quarter life crisis is a real thing. I had a quarter life crisis.
Same.
What my advice to you is enjoy it. I mean, I think sometimes again we in life we are so focused on what we don't have. We have a hard time being present. Single can be fun. So enjoy being alone. It's a real great, and I didn't get to that point in my life until I was like 29 to really be comfortable with being by myself. And that's a really great moment in your life when you get to that point, and then you're a more honest version of yourself, and you're really in a better place to really, I think, find your person. Because I think, at least for me, when I was younger, I was codependent on my girlfriends, whoever they were, and I went from being this teenager to falling in love when I was 18, and then I always had a girlfriend through my 20s. And I didn't know how to be alone, and that really kind of affected who I was. And so now that you're single, I would enjoy it and have fun and be thankful where you're at, and I think things will definitely work out for you.
I mean, it's basically what he said. I think once you are so happy by yourself and like, I don't need no man, that sounds so cliche, but seriously, when you have that feeling that like a relationship would be like fun, but like not something you need, and you just, do what you love, you work hard, you hang out with your friends, you make yourself feel pretty, that's when the guy comes around.
Yeah, that makes sense. I appreciate it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for coming up.
Yeah, thank you.
Any other questions out there? You don't have to come up if you don't want to.
So I'm in kind of a weird situation. I have been with my boyfriend for 3 years, and we live together, and we have a dog. And I love him, but he does not want to talk about getting engaged. We talk about being married, we talk about kids, we talk about the future, we both have great jobs. And anytime I mention getting engaged, he's like, I don't want to talk about it. The more you ask, the longer it's going to take. So.
I don't like
he
that.
means it like sarcastically,
But maybe he's just trying to throw you off. Like maybe he just doesn't want you to know when it's gonna happen.
I don't think so.
That's not okay. I was being nice.
And like we're old, and when we first started dating, he's like, by the time I'm 30, I want to be married, and now he's 30. So I don't know what to do.
It's a tough situation. You've been dating for how long?
3 years. We've lived
And
together
how
for
old are
2.
you?
I'm 27, almost 28.
Listen, I'm a big believer, and it's when I get a lot of dating questions, I think people really, and I learned this in business too, people will always find a way to tell you how they really feel, even when they're not saying it directly. When it's just in life, or really, if they'll be like, "Oh, it's fine. I don't care about that," and then they'll find other ways to get to the point. And so when he's just like fine to talk about marriage and kids, he can do that all day long because you have to get engaged before that happens, right? So that's the fact that he'll talk about marriage and he'll talk about kids is kind of irrelevant because he can do that freely because he knows he has to get engaged first. And so I think
We also like bought a house together too, so that's like a little bit more.
Oh, that's really like permanent.
Yeah, like everything is like there, just not.
Listen, I don't know I don't have a specific answer for you, but I think you just have to decide whether there's nothing wrong with a long engagement, right? There's nothing wrong. You're not that old. You're still young, right? So
I feel it.
we always feel it, though. I always say this. I've said this on every podcast I have. The reason why, like, to everyone in this room, has never been this old today. Yeah, I'm super old, but like everyone, this is the oldest we've ever been. So when you're like, I feel old, we all do because we've never been this old. So that's why we always feel old, right? And so my point of saying that is like, don't worry about feeling old. You're really young. And so if you really care about him and you guys communicate, my advice to you is have an open communication and don't make it feel like he has to pressure you to get engaged. It's not cool of him to give you an idle threat to, well, if you keep asking me, then I'll wait longer. But it might become a situation that is snowballing into something. He's clearly not ready to get engaged. That much I know.
Yeah, I agree with that.
That doesn't necessarily mean he doesn't want to at some point and he doesn't love you, but he's not ready now. So you need to either decide whether this is what you want and are there underlying issues in the relationship, or is he just not ready? And so you need to either figure that out, because nagging him and like poking holes is only going to make him defensive, and he's going to say things he shouldn't say, like, you know, and it's going to become a chicken before the egg situation. So you need to identify what the problem is. Is he's not ready right now, and is it because he doesn't want to ever? He doesn't want to with you, and I'm not saying that, or is he just not ready? And you need to figure that out, especially if it's a priority for you. And the house is irrelevant.
Yeah.
I'm confused.
I'm confused
It's like
too.
it's a pickle situation.
It's a pickle.
It's like he's making like these other big commitments to her, but he's just not making the one commitment that he said he would at this point.
Right.
I don't know. I don't have any advice. I really
he's
don't
like,
know.
isn't the house and the dog, like, isn't that commitment?
I know. I have more
My
questions
sister
than
bought a house
answers
with
for you.
her fiance at the time, and they're not together anymore. I mean, it happens. Sometimes we. What?
Yeah. We both have
these
great jobs.
things can happen.
But like, why did you?
He's like more than I am, but that's not.
It's both your names on the.
Yeah, his parents are married. His siblings are married. His siblings all have kids.
Have you ever directly asked him why not now? Why are you avoiding it?
I think. I need one. I don't know. I think first it was like, I want to get to this next step in my career, and then he did. And then it was like, well, now I want to get to the next step, and he did. And then it was like, I want to get the house, and we did. And then it was, I don't know.
See, I told Jared
you
that
wanted to
he
get the
couldn't.
house, or you did, or you mutually did.
We mutually did.
Okay.
Yeah.
I told Jared that we couldn't live together until we were engaged.
Yeah. I feel like, I know you always say like you shouldn't play house, and I feel like I'm kind of in that situation where I played house, and I don't know if.
Yeah, it's like buying the milk, that expression that they used to refer to sex. Why? Yeah, if you can get it for free, it's like, I guess it's kind of like that, but I just don't understand why he would commit to you in every other way except for.
Every one
Putting
of
a ring
her
on it.
friends says, come stay at our house. Take 3 weeks off without her being cooking, buying groceries. Every single thing that she does for him, show him what he's missing.
Yeah.
Show him what he's
probably
missing.
the best thing to do.
Take 3 weeks off. I'm going to go to Europe. You come cat sit for 3 weeks. Cat sit for 3 weeks. Let him see no dinner at home.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what she's got to do.
Well, I mean, here, it sounds like there's some underlying issues there. I think you just need to figure out.
There's not.
No, I mean, listen, that's the question.
Yeah.
He's not ready to get engaged. That much we know.
Yeah.
And I think you need to like figure out and communicate with him about what you want versus what he
That
wants.
was harsh. It's not like that. I do like play the house where I do the cooking and the cleaning,
And
but
that's
he's
awesome.
he takes care of me, so it's not. He's
It's
a good
all,
guy.
all that matters
No, I
is what
don't-
you want.
I'm just thinking about, not that he's dependent on you.
Everyone's got an opinion.
Dates, trips. I trust him. He's great.
All right. Well, hopefully that was helpful. I don't know if it was. But,
I'm not worried about.
Listen, I think you should. I think. Listen, I appreciate your question. I think a lot of people ask questions like this. It happens all the time. And again, the house stuff, and I don't mean to sound harsh, but we do these things sometimes, and then we use these steps as a way to justify our situation. It's great that you bought a house. That's awesome. I'm glad you guys made that commitment together. He's not ready to get engaged, because if he would ask.
Yeah,
And
but
that's okay, and that doesn't mean, but it's bothering you, so you need to figure it out, you know?
I'm just concerned that he's not ready to get engaged because he's not sure if she's who he wants to be with forever. Because why wouldn't he feel ready now after 3 years and after like all these commitments and
I
after
don't
he
know him.
said that he would
There's so
be
much about
ready.
the situation I don't know.
Yeah. I just don't want her to waste her time, and I definitely want you to see how much he misses you if you just take like a week break. Not a break from your relationship, but like get away.
Just do you. Like, for a week. Just not worry about him. Do you for a week, not worry about him, and I guarantee you he will be crawling back.
I mean, wow, you guys all want to hurry to break
And
up
then,
with him, huh?
and then make engagement chicken. Okay.
Thanks for coming, guys. We're gonna wrap up here. I do really sincerely, guys, taking the time to come out. Hopefully, you guys had fun. We'll be dropping this episode in a few weeks. Get Demi up here. Demi, come on.
Hey, y'all.
Can you believe her hair is real?
I know. Tell your friends.
So rude. It's also called youth.
That was one of the first things that Ashley said to me. She said, "Is your hair real?" And I said, "Yes." And she said, "How rude." Ding dong, the bitch is dead.
Do you guys have any questions for Demi?
Hi, how are ya?
I feel like we have to wrap.
I love you. We love a Demi stan.
Okay, I have a question for you. What does stan mean?
It's like super, super, super fan, like stalker fan, like somebody who is not just a fan, but like, you know, we're so dramatic in this day and age. So it's like, I really, really, really am a huge fan.
But you know what originated, or at least
Eminem.
I know, and I had no idea that Stan stood for that back when that song came out. But now, of course, everybody knows Stan.
Yeah, stan. I say it way too much. I'm always like, oh, I stan. We stan.
Great. Awesome.
We used to stan Nick. I'm just kidding. I stan. I stan Ashley more.
Any more questions for Demi?
Hi.
Demi, are you dating anybody?
No.
Saving
Not
yourself for the
officially.
beach.
No, I'm having a good time.
She's, just taking it easy right now because she's going to paradise.
Yeah, we'll see.
She can't say.
She can't say. I'll say that I will burn that beach to the fucking ground.
There we go. You heard it here first. If she goes, she's gonna kill it. All right. Well, we're gonna wrap it up. For those of you who got the wristband, stick around. For everyone, I do so much appreciate you taking the time and come out. It's been a lot of fun. Hopefully you enjoyed it, and maybe we'll do this again soon. And so for those of you, stick around. We'll hang out and do some raffles. Thanks for taking the time on a Sunday night. I know you guys could be doing a lot of other things. So thanks so much, Ashley. Thank you so much for joining.
Thank
Demi.
you so much
Thanks
for having me
stopping
for the live podcast.
And yeah, you guys up front, stick around. We'll hang out a little bit, and you guys have a safe drive home. Hopefully you have a DD, and
Let's get drunk and take an Uber home.
see you next time.